Well, welcome back, guys. If you've been following along with the assembly process of the Woodland Mills 126 model here, I hope you've enjoyed the videos. Today, now that we are setting on the rails, we are going to go through and tighten up our frame for our carriage. We're going to make sure everything is square, and we're also going to level the blade. Through the assembly process, we want to make absolutely sure this thing is as square and true as it can be, because at the end of it, this will affect how the saw cuts the material that we're trying to make. I hope some of this information helps you, and I really hope you enjoy the video. So let's get started. Now, I did go ahead and make sure that my wheels is 100% tight. That way we're setting on a good firm foundation here. Now, one thing I have done is I took my framing square and have laid it against these back posts, and I want to make sure that I am running true with the carriage itself. And another thing is check up here and make sure that our lifting plate is running square with this front frame. Everything is still loose. This is a good time to make sure that everything is square for us before we start tightening things up. Now, if we're out of square here, it's going to have to move within these two plates here in order to make the adjustment. And honestly, this thing's dead on it the way it's setting, so I haven't had to move anything. And I'm going to start here on the bottom part of the carriage. I will tighten it up. Then we're going to go over and check the other side and make sure it's square, and we'll tighten that lower part up, and then we'll move straight up to the top. Two 19mm wrenches here. Okay, and I'm going to double check and make sure I'm still running square. Now here on the frame of this guy. Now I'm actually squaring right here to the edge of our carriage rails, and that's giving me a pretty good line up through there. Yep, we're still running good. Okay. Everything's tight here. Let's move to the other side. That is running really close. Now, what this would affect on our saw is it's either going to nose the blade down or forward. This is not something they actually mentioned to do in the manual, because honestly this thing went together really well. So they have a really close tolerance here. But I just wanted to double check before I get everything tightened up and make sure that it's square. And it definitely can't hurt. Okay, double check that now. Yep, we're dead on it. Good. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down, but on the one that holds the pulley here, I'm just going to go a little past hand tight. sure we stayed square. Yeah, that looks real good. And it doesn't hurt to double check yourself and make sure that you've held all of these. We have put a lot of hardware together here, and we don't want something rattling after we get to milling. Loose. Okay, while our carriage is still setting down as low as it can go, I have slack in the cable. I am going to make sure this is cable A, or the right hand side lift. This is cable B, and I'm going to make sure that I have about the same amount of threads. This is how we adjust the left and right cut of the saw. And you do that simply by loosening up the jam nut here and either lengthening the cable or shortening the cable. Okay? We're going to get this close, and then we're going to measure our blade. The way our lift works is we have to push in a spring-loaded handle here and then crank the direction that we want to go. So we're going to bring this guy up. And then if you want it to lock into place, and you can just let the handle loose and it will stop there as long as you're in that detent. We're going to get this up enough to where we can get us a good measurement. Let's take a look at that. What I'm going to do here is measure up from the bottom of the rail to the top of the blade, and we want this number and that measurement to be identical. All right. Okay, so I need to lift this side up. This is side B. We are about 1/8 of an inch out of level here. Okay, so the left-hand side was low, so I need to tighten up the B cable here. I'm going to loosen up my jam nut. Okay. Then I'm going to tighten this to raise, or tighten the cable to raise that corner of the saw. And a little bit will go a long way here. You want to hold your cable, don't let it spin. If you need to, you can stick a screwdriver in there. I'm going to hold it with another wrench. Right, I'm going to check that now and see if that brought me up to level. I did go ahead and lift the saw up and let it down several times in order to make sure that everything is seating in properly. I'm going to double check my measurements. 23 and 13/16. Now we have that exactly level with our frame. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these jam nuts up now. Okay, no further adjustments needed there. We're set to mill. Now our next measurement I'm concerned with is the torque for our blade, and they suggest between 20 and 25 foot-pounds, And I'm going to go ahead and use a torque wrench here. They offer several ways for you to get this adjusted, but I'm going to go to 22 foot-pounds for my new blade. That'll get me right in the middle, and I'm going to check them before we move this thing. This is a 1/2 inch drive, by the way. Okay, and they're set right on 22 pounds. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Now, another interesting thing about this, as I was reading the manual, if you're going to leave this set for several days in a row without using it, they do suggest that you back this off so the blade setting against your drive wheels inside doesn't create a flat spot on the rubber that goes around the wheels. So this is something you're going to have to adjust each time you need to change blades, or even as you're sawing and the blade heats up and stretches out. Take a good measurement on this and then check it periodically. But between 20 and 25 foot-pounds, if you don't have a torque wrench, I'd say this is probably going to take the guesswork out of it. And just right there in the end of your T. Okay? And that is ready. Now the last adjustment I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up the 4 bolts on the top and the bottom of our Teflon, just finger loose, and we're going to make sure that our Teflon is sitting tight against our square tubing, and then just simply tighten them back up, and that keeps our rail straight as the saw is moving up and down so it can't flex. And you will have to make adjustments on this periodically as you use the saw more. So just needs to be loosened up, squeezed together, and it can only move front to back. The sides are already set. We'll have that ready to go. And after you get everything tight, again, cycle through, make sure it's going to move for you. Everything's going to roll along your carriage well. Your throttle works. Now, another thing I like about the saw is as we engage the throttle, it opens up the valve for our lubrication system and allows us to get water down to our blade. Now, another thing they say is for the first hour of operation, run this saw without any type of lubrication running down your blade. That allows your drive wheels to break in properly. The adjustments we have made today will dictate as to how well your material comes out at the end of the cut. So we wanted this to be pretty close. I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope some of the information helps you. In the next one, we're probably going to put fluids in this thing and fire it up for the first time. And then all we're doing is waiting for good weather, and we'll have this thing out and using it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you on the next one. Enjoy your saw.